Commissioners, this meeting is being streamed live on the county's Commissioner.
Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3.
Commissioners, this Commissioner.
It's a PowerPoint. It's just some weird transitions and stuff in it. Not weird, but yeah. But it's working. It's just slow.
Test, test, test.
mic is turned on, the control booth has the ability to kind of actually turn them on or off, kind of irrespective of if the individual mic is turned on or not. So I'm gonna ask you to- This is the Lake County Board of County Commissioners regular meeting on April 1st, 2025 in Board Chambers Administrative Building, Tavares, Florida. You can kind of tell what's on by maybe tapping. Okay, so I'm basically all set up right now as far as my recording. So I'm going to get the agenda out real quick. It'll be longer for sure, yeah, because last time it was just a couple items that they approved, and there was a few commissioners who really couldn't really talk about anything. There was that one resolution that had like a little bit of discussion with basically. So since we have two Zoom cases on the regular agenda, that means staff will do a presentation for both of those. It wouldn't take that long, but they'll open it up for public comment, and I assume there's going to be somebody to speak about those, or else it would not be on the regular agenda. Yeah, so when someone comes forward with a rezoning, that rezoning has to be in the county code. Your comprehensive plan would be approved. So staff will say either that it meets those criteria or it doesn't. And staff is saying that these cases do meet that criteria. So I would assume the only reason why they're on is to receive complaints from people. And then these other comment cards will probably start coming in. So when I receive those, like if someone wants to speak on a tab and it's, maybe they didn't put the tab number on, and I'll mark it on there and I'll do that.
And how long did you want to stay?
How long are you comfortable staying for? You don't have to stay for the whole thing. I just don't know what your schedule was.
The only thing is my dinner's is out today.
Okay.
Claire is watching up front for me.
Okay.
She goes on until 11.
Yeah, whenever you want to leave is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, this is really just for your schedule. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So whatever you're comfortable with, that's fine.
Maybe around 11.
Okay.
Good enough time.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our April 1st, 2025 Board of County Commissioners meeting. We're going to get started with our meeting. We're missing Commissioner Parks this morning. He's under the weather, but he's going to join us via phone, via Zoom. So we're going to start the meeting today by opening up with an invocation that will be given by Reverend James Morey of the Union Congregational Church of Tavares. Welcome, Pastor, and then we will remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious God, may your presence of love and compassion fill this chamber today. We give thanks for our elected Lake County Commissioners and the gifts of leadership that they provide in the service to the citizens of our community. We give thanks for their past experiences and formed and fashioned them as leaders. We thank you for their families who provide support and encouragement as they engage in making caring decisions for all the families of our community. And we thank you for every teacher and mentor whose wise guidance molded their skills and provided wisdom in making decisions. We thank you for all the support staff who work with them to provide information that enables them to make informed decisions that benefit the health of our county and all who live and work here. May the decisions they make be guided by your love and compassion for all your children and lift the life of our community, so all thrive and benefit from their leadership and service to your honor and glory. We also remember with thanksgiving our veterans who have given so much of their lives to ensure the freedoms we enjoy as a nation. And may your blessing be upon them and their families. Keep our first responders safe as they serve our communities with dedication and courage. We are grateful for their service. In the Master's name, amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again, Pastor. Appreciate you being here. We're going to now check to see if we have any modifications or updates to our agenda.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. As you mentioned earlier, Commissioner Parks is joining us remotely by Zoom. He has asked that he be allowed to vote remotely. So at this time, I am recommending approval to allow Commissioner Parks to participate and vote using an electronic platform. You will need to first vote to add this to the agenda. And then if that is approved, you would then vote on whether or not Commissioner Parks may vote remotely during this meeting.
Okay.
Add it to the agenda.
All right. We have a first and second to add it. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. It's added to the agenda. Now we need a motion.
Make a motion to allow Commissioner Parks to vote electronically.
Second.
All right. We have first and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we have taken care of that business, and Commissioner Parks will be able to participate in voting in this meeting today under Florida statutes. Any other updates to the agenda? All right, we'll move on to citizen question and comment period. We're now entering the public comment portion of the meeting when the public can discuss items that are not on today's agenda, with the exception of any zoning items. There is anyone who has joined our meeting through Zoom, they can use their phone to press *9 to virtually raise their hands. Anyone participating through Zoom online, please click the raise hand button to let us know that you wish to speak. Everyone will have 3 minutes to speak, and after 3 minutes, an alarm will sound letting you know that your time is up. So we'll get to the zoning items a little bit later. First, we'll handle any cards on speaker request. And it looks like everything that I have is actually related to zoning. So do we have anyone online that wishes to speak on just public comment alone?
Yes, good morning. We have one, Barbara Morris. You should be able to unmute your line and then please give your name and then your comments to the board.
And Barbara, just to make sure we can't do any zoning cases. It has to be non-zoning case.
I understand that.
Okay.
My name is Barbara Morris. I live in District 4. I have some concerns about our process. when we do our PUDs and development comes before you, we go through in your final hearing, developers typically do their presentation. Staff does their presentation as far as wetlands and open spaces, and Wekiva study area and Wekiva protection area will be addressed under site plan reviews or other various development reviews. The public does not get to participate in those. Once the commission has voted on a PUD and the developer has gotten their entitlements, the long process of making sure wetlands are protected and setbacks are proper and open space is proper, the public has no input. We have no idea what's going on, when it's happening. And we, as public in the area, know more about a property than probably you do, or even the developer, because we live here, we know it. We can comment and give input to help. It's recently come to my attention that a prior development, the maps and construction plans were submitted, certified by an engineer and a surveyor, that left off approximately an acre of lake. And in that process, that acre of lake was calculated, I believe, in open space calculations. Lots were planned right up against the lake without any setback requirements. And it's so far along in the process now that I'm not sure it can be fixed. Is there any way we can consider making sure the wetlands, the Wekiva study area, the Wekiva protection area is all designated on the concept plans to begin with, so that that last stage the public is allowed to participate in? If we see something that's off or we see something that's not correct, that we can speak up at that stage before we no longer have a voice. It's something that I really wish that this commission would consider altering how the process works. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, and I appreciate the points that you raise, and I think it's something that we can talk about more and look at with staff as far as how we make sure that we have a couple opportunities to assure that what was approved is actually what makes it to the ultimate construction plans and development plans. Okay, any other callers? Okay, we'll move on then. We're moving on to our consent agenda.
I'd like to pull tab 1
All right, we'll pull tab 1.
and the only tab.
That's the only one on our consent.
So,
We got 2 on consent.
We've got on regular. That's on regular. Yes, sir.
is there a vote to pull?
We don't have to vote to pull it. I mean, you just asked to pull it, and now we'll talk
Okay.
about it.
For
So-
the record, I was going to pull it anyway, so.
Yeah, I think everybody was going to pull it.
Okay, good.
So the reason why I asked to pull it is, this is for a contract for Forefront Engineering for the supervisor of elections on a possible lease opportunity at a building here in Tavares. The reason why I wanted to pull it is, I'm not in favor of voting on anything to move forward until we see the actual lease. I have not seen the lease, and I don't believe that the county attorney has had adequate time to go through the lease. So I just want to bring that up to everybody's attention.
And yeah, along those lines, I mean, I think we can certainly make the approval contingent upon us approving the lease. So, you know, you could say, okay, move forward with approving design, but no activity will occur until we've signed off on the lease.
It
But
does say on here that it is contingent to the execution of the lease, but I just don't like doing things
What's the
ahead of time.
What's the advantage of starting right now with the the architecture part first, or the design before the lease? I just didn't know if there was I don't know if it was like a timing thing or something, we had to do it.
Yeah, and I don't, from the standpoint of the supervisor of elections, I think he's just wanting to move forward, but as indicated, if we don't have a lease to sign off on, you really can't, and it's contingent upon the lease, you still have to bring the lease back. And then the other item that I was interested in was a requirement that, or at least a stipulation, that if we approved moving forward with design, that we weren't bound to move forward with the project unless we were comfortable with the ultimate price of renovation. And I knew that was going to be an issue with everyone else, at least I thought it would be an issue with everyone else, that we would want to know, how much is it going to cost to do this, to actually do the construction renovation? We've got the price to do the plans, but what is it going to cost to do the renovation? So those would be that would be a stipulation I would want no matter what moving forward, is that we have some parameters.
Yeah, and the one thing that we do not know is we do not know if he's going to use this. There's speculation that he wants to use this for his administrative office, which is a completely different area as where I was going as a warehouse space. So we don't even know that yet.
Well, I can tell you what he told me, that he does want this to be the administrative space because the warehousing situation over at the existing building is more secure and it's more able for him to use to get his trucks in and out, which I honestly think on an issue like that, we have to defer to him on operational stuff. So if it's easier for him to get all of his equipment in and out of the existing building, and he'd prefer for this to be at the administrative location where the public comes to, to sign up to vote or to change their documents, et cetera, that I would defer to him on that. But I was just, looking at the numbers. I think from all of the things that we've had presented thus far, to create additional space for the supervisor elections, I think this is the best option so far, as long as the ultimate price to do the renovation isn't a reasonable amount, in my opinion. And he was talking somewhere between $2 to $3 million.
So I'm just asking a question, but should we table it and then include the parameters that you outlined about costs, et cetera, and then just revisit it next month, or should we actually just try to pass it with those amendments today? I'm just curious what the commission thinks is best.
Well, first of all, I want to compliment Supervisor Hayes on finding a least expensive option. I thought it was going to be used for storage, but it's not. He wants administrative building. And I agree with the chairman that he knows how to run his operation. The only thing I would ask, that if we're going to do this, I would like to try to do this a little differently. Let's challenge the architect to provide plans that we could put out for a hard bid instead of doing a construction management. And it's not a large project. It'd be a good one to try to challenge the architects. They can do this, to get a plan done well enough that it could be bid out. So I don't have a problem with tabling it. We do need to move it forward shortly. He wanted to get started a little early, and this is the company he had worked with before. So I'm good either way.
And might I remind everybody that the price of the lease is not the actual price that we'd be paying, because you have common areas that would also take up the triple net. That's not included in the price of the lease as far as I know. So once we get all the numbers down, then we'll have a better idea of what's going on.
You know what, it'd be good, Kirby, if you would give them a list of what you would like to see.
In the lease.
I think Melanie already has that list.
Okay.
So do you guys have any indication from him in your discussions how quickly the lease terms would be available?
So Michelle Wilkinson in my office, the property manager, she has had some brief discussions with the property management company over there. As of right now, the current tenant is still there. They're still under lease. They are in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, so we don't know, and the landlord doesn't know exactly when they may move out. He thinks it might be May, but a lot of that's going to be contingent upon the bankruptcy court and whether or not they'll terminate that lease through that bankruptcy proceeding. So we could negotiate a lease. Unfortunately, the termination date or the start date as of right now is going to be up in the air. But we can certainly negotiate the terms, and as we move a little bit further into this process, we may have more of a definitive answer from the current tenant as to when they may be leaving.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have two items, though, because I do like Commissioner Morris's idea. We could, I think, pass a resolution requesting the architect to come up with a proposal that could be bid out to the public. I'm fine. I support voting for that today, just to see what that looks like and how they respond, and then tabling the rest and then including the new parameters in it next month, or I guess next week maybe.
Yeah, and again, and I have indicated to Supervisor Hayes that I like this concept, and I think we're moving in the right direction. Having been down this road a little bit before, I'm leery to say, let's spend $72,000 designing a building when we don't know what the lease terms are going to be.
Correct.
And we're assuming they're going to be reasonable, but it's all contingent on that bankruptcy getting finalized. So we could just be in a holding pattern. And yes, I get you want to get your building designed, you want to get it bid out, you want to move forward as fast as you can, knowing that the bankruptcy is probably going to go through. It's just that you just got a couple variables here that I'd like to pin down a little bit better.
And I like to see the hard numbers on the common areas as well, because that could be significant.
We do have what the current tenant pays for common area maintenance and insurance, and they're paying about $65,000 a year just for that alone.
When you say common areas, is that the parking group?
Parking lot,
It,
lights.
and property taxes are included in that,
How much was that?
about $65,000 a year.
It's what they're currently paying, so it could go
Correct.
up when we renegotiate our lease. Or
It-
down.
Or down.
It could, typically with commercial leases, there's a provision in there where the landlord will notify you by a certain date of increases in those fees. And then you have the option to terminate or not at that point. But once you're in there, you're usually in there and you're going to pay those increases.
My thought process was, we don't know how we're going to be voting in 5 to 7 years. You might pick up your phone and do your eyes, and you're able to vote. So I didn't want to build a $22 million building. So to me, I think that he has done a good job of finding a location that if we have to get out of it, we don't need it anymore, we can. And the county doesn't have a $22 million bond.
I completely agree with that statement. However, we do have a good space currently where the current supervisor of election is. Now, the only problem is he's hamstrung with warehouse space.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and to the parking, though, this would be a much better parking situation for the public, because it is cramped where it is right now. And when it gets busy on certain days, it is. So I get his thought process on why he wants to flip it and be here. Could we just try to pin down terms, bring it back, maybe shoot for the next meeting, if we can get all that together, and if not, then bump it one more meeting?
Yes, so your next meeting's next week. We'll do what we can to make the 8th, but just wanted to point out to you as well, the architect did provide an estimate of internal renovation, and he's estimating between 150 per square foot and 100 and 150 at the high end, so the construction cost of renovations would be between $2 and $3 million. And keep in mind, because this is a leased building, you cannot use infrastructure sales tax for those costs.
So maybe on next meeting's agenda, we could also put some parameters in there as far as what it would be considered acceptable on the lease terms, just so we don't get into a situation where we get down the road and then we're arguing about whether we really agreed to move forward or not without having terms pinned down.
So for today's purposes then, we would request that you at least vote on the second part of your item, which would be to negotiate a lease to bring back to the board.
Okay, do we have a motion for staff to work on negotiation of the lease to bring back to the board?
I'll make a motion.
We get a motion from Commissioner Smith, a second from Sabatini. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Was that an aye? Nay?
That was an aye, and yes.
Oh,
Yeah, and I
okay.
agree with the discussion. I just wanted to say real quick, I think in concept, we may have landed somewhere that's pretty good, but really appreciate the discussion, and yeah, we need to know what the lease terms will be first.
Okay, so we have a
Thank you.
unanimous vote, 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner Parks. Moving on then to the regular agenda, Commissioner Sabatini, this is your,
Hold on a second. We got to vote on the, don't we have to vote on the first part about the lease? No? Okay.
No, we can table the forefront and bring that back when we bring back a lease.
So the only thing I want to make sure that we understand is that, as Commissioner Morris stated, we want a hard bid, not one of these bids that come in and it could be $3 million, and then all of a sudden it jacks up to $10 million like it did at Sears Building.
yep. Okay, on the regular agenda, we have tab 2. This is a resolution in support of Executive Order 25-44, ensuring government efficiency. And I'll turn it over to
Sure,
Commissioner
I'll be
Sabatini.
quick. Just, you probably saw in the news, the governor is establishing a state equivalent to the federal DOGE system that's been in the news so much. And he requested local governments to show support for it and to indicate openness to it. And obviously, I think it's a good idea for us to send a letter and designating a staff contact just in case they did ever want to come speak to us about fiscal accountability. I don't think that good counties like our own are obviously going to be a point of concern. I think they're focused on some of the municipalities, especially down south. But I think it's looks good on the county, and it shows attentiveness, openness, and fiscal openness. And Marion County has this same exact resolution on their agenda today, literally at this exact time. So maybe we'll beat them if we pass it first. But with that, that's all.
I'm okay with it. I just want the public to know that our staff does an absolutely fantastic job. We have an internal review every year that each commissioner asks for. So this is already being done, but I do not mind supporting a resolution like this.
And I would want to point out, too, that we have a regular audit system in place. The Clerk of Courts performs audits on a revolving basis, and then if any issues do come up or raised by the public, we can specifically request an audit on particular departments. So we do all of this already, but I think it does indicate that we're not opposed to opening everything up, being completely transparent, and indicating how we get things done and how we try to save as much money as possible in the process.
I don't disagree with this, but what I do want to make a statement that I think from the dais here, we do not need to be doing political type ordinances. I think that we represent 400,000 people. Some of them agree, some of them don't. So I would just caution the commissioners not to bring up something that's really political to the dais, because I will vote against it.
Sure, and I want to say I totally agree with you on that. You know, if something comes up and it's extremely divisive and it distracts from what we do, I think that's something we need to be very cautious about. But I do think that this falls into a separate category of fiscal accountability, and we do have the best clerk in the state. Thank you, Gary, for keeping us accountable.
And the reason why I don't have any problem in opening this up is I have full faith in our clerk of courts and the staff that we do, and we do these constant audits all the time.
Right.
So,
And we get the reports.
and we get the reports.
Over and over.
All right, Commissioner Parks, did you have anything to weigh in on?
I appreciate it. No, I think, as I said last week, I welcome any kind of, anything like this. I'm totally in support of, us coming in. I think the process is great here. And as has been said, we've got a great clerk of courts. Our staff has done a wonderful job. So ready to move forward. And I say bring it on. So.
Okay, do we have a
I'm in
motion?
support.
Commissioner Sabatini?
I would move to approve agenda item from tab 2, passing a resolution in support of Executive Order 25-44.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we've had discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously, 5-0. Now moving on to public hearings and rezonings, which is a separate agenda. As we start this part of our agenda, I'd like to remind each member of the board that you're required to disclose any communications you may have had with the applicant or members of the public about any zoning cases on today's agenda. And at the start of each case, please state on the record the names of persons you have spoken to and the subject matter of those discussions. Written correspondence should be given to staff and placed in the zoning file. I think everything is already in there. And any site visits should be disclosed. We've got 2 items on consent and 2 items on regular. So this is an interesting question. On consent, Melanie, I don't know that we've ever disclosed discussions on consent because they're on consent. Do we still have to make that disclosure?
Yes, you should make that disclosure.
Okay.
But, Madam Chair, before we do that, I'd like to pull tab 1 from P&Z and discuss that, just to learn a little bit more about it.
Okay, all right. So item 1 will come off of consent, and 2 will stay on. So if we have a motion for 2, we'll consent, which is only item 2.
Move to pass the remaining items on the consent agenda, which is just tab 2.
And do we have a second?
I have a second.
And were there any disclosures that need to be made with regard to speaking to anyone? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, that passes 5-0. Then we'll start in order, so we'll go back to tab 1.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, good morning. For the record, Mike Fitzgerald, Office of Planning and Zoning Director. I'd like to point out that these items have been advertised in accordance with Florida statute, beginning with tab 1. This is the Ford vacant property. This requested action is to rezone approximately 1.31 acres from urban residential to neighborhood commercial C1. The Planning and Zoning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval of this item. This is located at the corner of Northern Avenue in unincorporated Leesburg area. This is within the Leesburg ISBA. The City of Leesburg had no comments regarding this rezoning. They did, however, have a comment regarding city water, stating that the city water is available with an extension at the applicant's expense. Sewer is not available, but the City of Leesburg is willing to work with the applicant and grant a waiver in that regard. The proposed rezoning request is consistent with adjacent neighboring properties. Several of the properties on Northern Avenue are zoned CP, which is a planned commercial zoning, or C1, which is the neighborhood district that the applicant is requesting. Lake County Fire Station is located about 0.21 miles from this property. Transportation concurrency cannot be determined as the applicant has not indicated any uses. C1 is a straight zoning, so any use that is allowable under our table would be an allowable use for this district. An environmental assessment would be required at the time we go to site plan, and staff would review that with the development review staff. And at this time, I could answer any questions.
I don't have any questions, just from some clarification, because this is my district and I've been out there many times. The wooded area on the corner on the west side of 473 is actually where the new fire station is going to go. To the north of this property is Camp Moon, which is a Church of God camp I went to when I was a kid, and there's commercial properties all around it. So I think this is a great fit for this piece of property.
And just to confirm, any development plans would have to go through site plan review and comply with all of Lake County land development regulations, as far as how it's laid on the property, parking, landscaping, all of those things.
That's absolutely correct, yes.
Well, I feel good about it. Just wanted to learn a little bit more, and I'm glad that I did, because now we have our local district rep with some personal insight, so thank you.
Move approval.
Okay, hold on one second, because we pulled it off of consent. I think I do have to call for any public comment. I don't have any cards, but just to be sure. All right, so you've got motion for approval?
Approved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That passes 5-0. Then moving on to tab 3. First, do we have any disclosures? Anyone talk to anyone on tab 3?
I talked to Mr. O'Keefe late yesterday afternoon.
On 3?
Is that Heritage?
No, this is Mountain Lake Drive.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm good.
Okay.
My
No
bad.
disclosures.
Commissioner Parks, anything? No?
No disclosures on this tab.
Okay.
None
Yep.
for me.
Thank you, Chairman. Tab 3, the requested action is to rezone approximately 4 acres from neighborhood commercial, C1 district, and agriculture to urban residential, which is R6, to facilitate a residential development. The Planning and Zoning Board unanimously recommended approval of this item. This is located south of Sorrento Avenue along an unimproved Mountain Lake Drive in the Mount Plymouth area. The proposed rezoning request to R6 is consistent with adjacent neighboring properties. The applicant is proposing to develop single-family housing. This property historically has been meant for single-family housing. It's part of the Mount Plymouth plat, and the applicant would like to do some lot line configurations so that the lots are larger than what was originally platted. It's proposed to be a 55% maximum impervious surface area. This is the concept plan that illustrates how the lot lines will be adjusted, and these will be larger lots than what was originally anticipated. The urban residential district allows 5.5 dwelling units per net acre, and this is only being proposed at approximately 2.25 dwelling units per net acre, so it's well under what the allowable use is. This will be a septic tank system and wells providing water and sewer to the property, and it has a de minimis impact on traffic concurrency. I'm happy to answer any questions.
If I'm not mistaken, this has already been platted for residential since the 1920s?
Yes, sir. The plat, I believe, was from 1926, so always intended for residential use in this area.
So why wouldn't staff automatically require on-site waste distributive system? Is that something we would have to request be included?
We can
my
work
question.
through the site plan to request that the applicant do the best septic system that they can.
Keep in mind, this is not a conditional zoning, so you cannot place any conditions if you approve it today.
So didn't we make a change, though, or maybe it was just for rezonings that we were requiring, if there wasn't central sewer, that we would require?
You've only been doing that in conditional zonings. It's not part of the county code that would require them to do on-site.
So just to be clear, so what you're saying, Mike, is that the determination staff would make what would be the best system under the circumstances? Is that, I mean, is there like a criteria?
We would rely upon the expertise of the Department of Health to advise us on best route.
Okay, because I did think that
I
they
have a
were
question
going in
about
that direction. Maybe Commissioner Parks can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I appreciate you bringing that question up, Chair. That was a big question of mine. I thought we were moving in that direction. Now, I don't know what DEP, Department of Health, it's really DEP now, will require. They may not, and this just in reality, they may not be very definitive or give good direction on it at this point. But I had thought that I thought that we as a county were moving forward with that to try to address our BMAP requirements to get everybody either on advanced, DWTS or to a sewer connection from a city. So I'm looking at it as like a BMAP requirement because we've got, some 8,000 homes or so at some point over the next, whatever it is, I don't know, 5 or 7 years that we're supposed to, convert over to DWTS. And that's why we're in the grant program to try to get the state money to do that and everything. But I thought that that's, as you had kind of indicated, Chair, that we were doing it from the BMAP requirement.
And Chair, I also thought that the distributed waste was
It was almost an automatic. So maybe we just need to bring an ordinance back and clarify, and then have like exceptions in the ordinance if there are times when it's not feasible, but that otherwise it would be an automatic requirement that you use the latest and greatest, which right now we're told is waste distributive versus septic.
When you say an ordinance, you mean to change the LDR and make it a mandatory DWTS unless there's a reason to not do it? Okay. We can certainly work on that and bring it back to you.
And if we bring that resolution forward, then we need to find one we need to take off the books.
Yes, typically when you add a new requirement, you would take something old out of the code.
Thank you.
That's
That predates you.
That's our policy. That's the
Oh,
Blake-
really?
That's the Josh Blake rules. You can't add a new rule if you don't take an old rule off.
I'm sure there's
I'm
something
sorry,
about
I didn't
squirrel
get the
hunting on
memo.
Sundays or something.
Who knew?
You can take more than one old rule off. You can take multiple old rules.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so if we were to jump right on that and get that done, that would likely be in place by the time they would be moving forward with this anyway, and I think the record will show our intention that that's what's being used.
Yes, ma'am. We're just talking about a zoning today. So if that ordinance gets put in place before they apply for their site plan, that new rule would apply for their site plan application.
So do we need to postpone this to make sure the ordinance is there?
I don't think you really need to postpone this because I think you have time between this being approved and getting an ordinance, or at least an ordinance will be in process.
That's correct. He still has to go through development review approvals, so we could bring that ordinance back as long as we have it in place before he's ready to pull septic permits.
Are these dirt?
And I would add,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Commissioner. I was just saying, and I would add that I think there'd be value in it if our staff was sort of taking this application to, when they go to DEP, to, obviously let them know of the discussions of today, and that would help perhaps with their own determination to let them know that we're going forward with this ordinance, and that this came up during the discussion today, that we wanted this to be DWTS to be within this little small subdivision here. And I think they would make that determination.
Is Mountain Lake Drive paved?
No, sir.
So is that a county road, or will that be their road?
It's currently platted as public right-of-way, so there's nothing there now. That the developer did do some early clearing, but they would have to make this a county standard roadway since it is publicly dedicated.
Okay.
And because it's not conditional zoning, you can't really say that in this ordinance, but it is code. They can't plat lots off of it without it being a county standard road.
Do they have to give it to us, or can they keep it and maintain it themselves with the HOA?
You can't, you're not going to be able to condition it because this is not a conditional zoning.
Okay.
Correct, but as they go through the development process, they could choose to vacate it and make it a private gated community, but as of right now, it's publicly dedicated right-of-way.
So under your question, yes, under the goodness of their heart, they could take this road on themselves.
Yeah, and it might make the lots more marketable and valuable if they did gate it, but they don't
Well,
have to.
it doesn't have to be gated just to be a private road either.
All right, so do we have any comments from the public? I see I have one card from Cindy Newton. Cindy, if you want to come forward.
Good morning. Cindy Newton, District 4. One point I want to make was in the original application for this, what was submitted to the Health Department, and they came back with no comment, was that Mount Dora was going to be supplying utilities here. So I want to make sure that is clear to the Department of Health that they are going with septic. One reason that I was going to request the on-site is, of course, the BMAP. And And also, what is on this is just what they're rezoning at this time. And you can see most of it is in floodplain. So they're going to be putting these septic systems in floodplain. When I talked to the Department of Health, they said it was okay to put the septic in the floodplain, but not the drain field. And there would be an understanding that if it did flood, that the septic could float. Also, they, rather than just what they're rezoning, they own even more property than what's in the concept plan. It comes clear over to here. It's around 10 acres altogether. So we're looking at possibly 20 houses with septic and wells. So I think the on-site is very important in this, especially since it's in the Wekiva Protection Area and the Wekiva BMAP. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. Those are along the lines of our concerns on the septic versus on-site waste distributed system. But I'm curious, Mike, on the floodplain issues, don't they still have to have sufficient land out of the floodplain to be able to build homes on?
If Lake County does not exclude building in the flood zone, if they do, they have to meet the building code and raise the finished floor elevation to, I think our code is 18 inches above base flood elevation.
So they've got to go above base flood on finished floor elevation. But unless we make the changes that we've been discussing to compensating storage, there wouldn't be any requirement for compensating storage. If you build in the floodplain, you go above base flood, don't you still have to have compensating storage?
That's a great question for our public works folks to discuss stormwater requirements. I don't know if they want to.
I think it's important to understand that they still have to create a place for the water to go on their own lots.
Jeff Earhart, Engineering Director. So nice of Mike to call me up. You're allowed to fill to build the house without providing compensating storage. Anything else besides what's built up for the house foundation itself would have to be compensated on a cut-by-cut basis.
So like driveway?
Driveway would. They would either need to do it at existing grade where they wouldn't fill, and it would, if it does flood, it would flood, or if they did build it up, they would have to excavate somewhere else on their property.
And the rules that we've been talking about amending that are in process, would that change what we're talking about today? Would that be any different than what you just described? I don't know if
I don't know that.
Jordan isn't here, and she's kind of been the one leading, I think, the charge on that.
I believe the 18 inches was going to change to 24 inches as far as how far up it was going to be, or was going to change the actual flood. I don't know. Yes, I don't know the answers. I don't think it. I think you're still allowed to construct. I'm not 100% sure if it's 100% in the floodplain. I know if it's only like a portion in the floodplain, you're supposed to build where there is not floodplain. But I don't think we're restricting a person's ability to develop within the allowable land development codes.
And if it stayed commercial, we'd still have the same issue, unless our code changes. And again, we're back to, if we're in the process of amending the ordinance, and the ordinance is done before they apply for their site plan, then the new rules would apply to this as well.
Right. And regarding the road, I do believe the applicant's intention is to leave that as a dirt road. I'm not quite, it is county right of way, but it's non-maintained, but that's to be decided further on. I'm not 100% on that. That's just my understanding.
All right, so that's another question. If it's just rezoned to R6 and it's a dirt road, I didn't think that they could plat off of a dirt road.
No, I mean, we've talked to this developer and we've told him that he's going to have a road up to county standards because it is not an existing dirt road. If the road was already there, then they would be able to build off of that, but it's not there.
All right, well, we've definitely flushed a lot of issues out here.
Excuse me, Chairman, we do have a hand on Zoom. if there's someone that would
okay.
like to speak on Zoom. Barbara Morris, you should be able to unmute your line now.
Barbara Morris, District 4. Several things on this project. One, I want to address the road situation. Mount Plymouth subdivision, when it was platted, they actually built the roads. So underneath all those trees, there is clay and pea gravel. The road is actually there. I know this because I have built on several roads in the Mount Plymouth area that was covered in trees. And all I had to do was take the trees out and restore the road. But on this application, attachment D says they're asking for 9 lots. The standard review page says they're asking for 4 lots. Their concept plan shows 19 lots. This was vested under originally the lot of record ordinance, which was converted to the non-conforming uses ordinance 1.08.03. The county attorney has indicated that you can't put conditions on it because rezoning is non-conditional. But in this case, it's a non-conforming use, and it has special reasonings behind it. 1.08.03A says that existing prior to the effective date of 2030 comprehensive plan, September 22nd, 2011, is allowed unless there is a change of use from one classification identified to another use classification. They are changing a use classification of C1 to R6. That possibly, in my opinion, brings it into the situation where you can put conditions on it. Some of these lots they have platted are less than 12,500 square feet that the ordinance requires, one of them at least. I spoke to the Department of Health, and their current standard is 21,780. The reason our ordinances say 12,500 square foot is because the lot of record ordinance at the time, back in the 90s when it was passed, the health department requirement for a well and septic was 12,500 square foot. That has changed. But if you pass this, the health department is required to give them a waiver because it is a vested property. I think this is important because it is right on the lake. There is no requirement for them to put any kind of a swale to prevent runoff into that lake. And you're throwing up 19, 20 homes, and that lake is coming forward. It's actually improving, and it may be coming back. I don't want to see us do something that will contaminate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, and you do have a lot of institutional knowledge on that old lot of record ordinance from the 90s. Honestly think that a lot of important information was raised, and we need to relook at this.
Agreed.
Can I just make one more comment too, Chair?
Certainly.
Yeah, just again, regarding the DWTS, I think I was kind of frantically trying to look through the comp plan right now, but I think it says it's pretty clear in our comp plan right now that in the Wekiva protection area that I think it gives us the ability to require DWTS to move away from septic tanks in the Wekiva study area to either DWTS or connection to sewer as well. So I know we kind of addressed that issue with the ordinance that we're going to hopefully change here. But in the time being, if this were to be approved and then over the next couple of months before a site plan comes in, I do think the staff has the ability to just require the DWTS based on trying to be consistent with our comp plan.
Is the applicant here?
The applicant is not present in the room. We've contacted them to see if they can attend via Zoom. I'm not sure if they've logged on yet.
A lot of questions that need to be answered.
And perhaps tabling.
I think the applicant is on Zoom now, according to the information we're receiving.
If the applicant could please raise your hand on Zoom.
Anything?
Nothing.
So,
So I'd like to make a motion that we table this until our next zoning meeting.
okay, and along those lines,
I'll
I think we need
second.
to look at issues like size of the lots in relation to minimum requirements and the waste distributed system, but also swales runoff related to the road construction in the lake.
Madam Chairman, as a suggestion, as part of postponing this, would you want to include in your motion that it be re-advertised as a PUD, in which case you can address all of those issues?
Would you like to amend your motion, so at least that's an option for the applicant? Because otherwise, the way it is now, they have to come back the way, as a straight zoning. If you make your motion different, then they could bring it back as a PUD.
I'd like to just bring to the board's attention that this is only a rezoning of half of what the property owner has. If we come back with a PUD, he really should do a PUD for all of the property that he owns, not just the half that we're discussing today.
Agreed.
And I'm not sure if
That would be considered a board-initiated rezoning, which is not a voluntary rezoning.
right. And I'm not comfortable with that, so I'm going to keep my motion the same.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so just to clarify, that would be bringing it back then on May 6th.
All right, we have a first, we have a second, and just for discussion, so the applicant's aware, I think there have been a lot of concerns expressed, so that needs to be taken into account with regard to preparation for the next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes 5-0 to postpone to the next zoning meeting. Then moving now to item 4, and we have to make disclosures.
I spoke with Dan O'Keefe late yesterday.
And I've spoken to several engineers and other people about this project.
And I've been on the property. I've had a site visit with staff and also with the applicant's engineer and a couple representatives. That was a while back. Talked to Dan O'Keefe, talked to Bill Ray, and I've also talked to several residents during this process.
Spoken to no one about this.
Okay.
And I've spoken to Dan O'Keefe.
Chairman,
Been to the site as well.
the applicant contacted staff this morning and is requesting the opportunity to address the board and request a postponement of this agenda item.
Is the applicant's representative here?
Yes.
Good morning. Respectful of time, we had submitted the drainage calculations and the floodplain study as requested. There were some untimely delays in getting the consultant engaged and then getting a different consultant engaged due to a conflict of interest. That study's been submitted to staff. Staff has not had time to complete their review. Understanding that it's a critical component of moving forward with the project, we're asking for the continuance so that staff has time to fully review the hydrologic report that was submitted. We can further address their questions with staff that comes up, and then together with staff set a time certain when we can bring this back forward. But again, it's based upon staff's full understanding of the hydrologic report and then any additional issues that may have come up in the interim.
So just so I'm 100% clear, you want to postpone it and then not give us a time certain today, but as you go through the process, then come back with the time certain?
Correct. I request that we be allowed to work with Mike and give him and engineering appropriate time to fully review and answer the questions. Then together, both staff and the applicant itself will give you a time certain as to when we can come forward. I don't want to try and schedule, your staff.
I know we probably have some public comment. I don't know if they want to speak on it now or if they want to wait until staff has a chance to review and then get all their questions answered and then come back. I don't know.
As far as the request, we've got public speaking cards. Would the comments that we would take at this time be to this request of a postponement, or would that be up to the board whether we would hear any other concerns?
Typically, in the past, you have limited public comment to the request for postponement only. However, this is the second time it's come back, so it's really board's discretion whether you would like to give them the opportunity to put all of their objections on the record. Again, the applicant could consider that as they're working through the process, or you can limit it to postponement only.
I hate the fact that we have a full room of residents that are impacted by this request, and it's an inconvenience to come back again and not know when that's going to happen. But to the extent of having cards and having comments, this would give an opportunity for the applicant to hear what issues you all have. I know there has been a public, like a community meeting, at least one, maybe even more, where you've given comments. But I mean, I feel like we're in a tough situation. We either would say no to the postponement and potentially just deny it altogether, in which case they're going to file again and they're going to come back. So we're going to end up here again, just realistically. So can we do this in a way that is the most convenient way possible?
We recognize that it's a hardship on the public to come back, but then some of the comments that may be raised have also been addressed and are in our application coming forward. We'd be hesitant to open it up and imply that it's a full public hearing right now to vote the project up or down. We know that the critical component of the floodplain has not been fully reviewed by staff. We know that staff is engaging a consultant to review the floodplain. Staff is unable at this time to tell us when that consultant, who is unfamiliar with the basin at this point, would be able to give us a time certain as when we could come back forward. But until we can get those questions issued, a lot of the comments we know that are going to be raised are about the flooding within the issue. And that's what we're seeking to address.
Okay. Well, at this point, I think I'm going to have to call speaker cards, and if you can give your input on the request for a postponement. And let us know where you stand. We have, first speaker I've got a card for is Jeff Kimbrough.
First, I want to thank the board for your attendance last year at the flooding workshop and your concern over the issues we had in our area late last year. I also want to thank, in particular, Chairman Campione and Jeff Earhart for their assistance with the residents of Wolf Branch Estates in removing the floodwaters that incurred in our neighborhood that were from without our development. That's why we're very skeptical. We're extremely concerned about this development going in. It is due north of our area. I'm going to keep my comments very short today. I had some lengthy comments. I was going to eat up the whole 3 minutes today. I would request that you deny this application today. Let them resubmit it fully. We have several concerns in regard to the access roads, the wastewater treatment, the flooding concerns, and the density. I did the math on this very, very quickly. where they are building homes, although I do understand the conservation approach and understand that and can appreciate that. Where they are building homes, they're building 7 homes per acre. That density is absurd for that area of the county. Every property that touches that is anywhere from a 1-acre lot to 5+ acres. Wolf Branch Estates is 2.5 to 3.5 acre lots. This is totally out of character for this area. I will save my more detailed concerns for the next time I approach here, and I look forward to seeing you again, but I ask that you deny this extension today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Heidi Swanson, and then after Heidi, I've got John Suarez. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm very uncomfortable with public speaking, so you're going to have to bear with me. There are several points, obviously, that I have to make. My home was the one that was flooded in Wolf Branch Estates. 2 things I want to point out is in regards to real estate, and this is, you may know this, but this is really going to the developer. I pulled up the real estate this morning on Realtor.com. There are almost 6,000 homes available. More than that, obviously, with new developments. The Orlando Business Journal just recently said housing supply rise, hiding unsold homes. Of those 6,000 lot properties that are available in Lake County, those 5 acres or more, in Sorrento, there are 4 properties available. The cheapest one is $995,000. So I understand there is obviously people moving to this area. We don't want to stop growth. That's not reasonable. This developer is going to put something in, but put something in that makes sense for the area. You have the Innovation District going in where you're going to hopefully have very high executive paying jobs. These are not people that want to live in a home that is right next to their neighbor. They want to have a nice estate home, which is what we have in Wolf Branch Estates. And we are requesting that you at least take that into consideration. In addition, there is an elevation issue. If you look at the alt code 1595860, which is the property right between Scenic Hills Drive and Wolf Branch Estates, the home on the corner on Scenic Hills is at 105 feet. The home in Wolf Branch that abuts that is at 62 feet. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that when it rains, where is that water going to go? There is obviously an elevation issue to be addressed. There's still several issues going on with the Timberwalk elevation. My husband and I actually had an independent engineering firm come out and evaluate the flooding issues. They are stating that the failed cross culvert is located upstream from Timberwalk outfalls. The cross culvert is approximately 10 feet higher than Timberwalk's outfall inverts. So while I know this whole thing is brought up because of the flooding, we've got to fix the problem first. It doesn't matter if you put a 5-foot culvert under that road if it's above where the water is coming out. So I have lots of other notes here, but I see my time is running out. So I am requesting a denial because this just is not, it's not the right thing to do. So.
Thank you for your comments. John Suarez, and then Stephanie Burgess.
Good morning. John Suarez, District 4, Lake County. I'm against this development. I wish you just nixed it. The flooding issues, I have a question for you all. Do you have all the hydrology and engineering studies back from DEVO and everybody else that was involved in everything countywide? So I take that as no.
Well, no, we don't typically do back and forth, but I can tell you we have a lot of data from DEVO, but we're waiting on our independent consultant to evaluate what this developer has submitted.
And do we have a viable plan put in place for all the flooding that's happened? And I can say that we probably don't, correct? I think we need to stop with this until we have all those answers answered, because I can see nightmares happening around the county due to the flooding issues and stuff. This piece of property is way higher than a lot of other people, and just like they said, water runs downhill. They can build a big old pond, but what happens when the pond breaches? If it does, right? That's always an if. If that breaches, oh God, we're going to have a real nightmare. So I think we need to look at all of those things before we move forward. The other thing I want to point out is they had some construction equipment on the property recently, and we stopped the people when they came out and asked them, why did you come down our roads? They're non-maintained county roads. And they were told that's the only way to get to the property, where they could have came right down Avington to the gate, and that's a county maintained road. My fear is if this thing is approved, they're going to use our roads, non-maintained, we maintain them, we pay the money to put material into the roads so we can pass, is going to be destroyed, and they're going to use them as a construction interest. And I think that's totally wrong. So I'll leave it at that, and I hope you deny it, and we'll come back at another day. Thank you.
Stephanie Burgess and then Sarah Kempfer.
Good morning. Are we able to look at pictures? Just to summarize? Okay. I got a few pictures here. Again,
Misty, would you mind helping her out?
my name is Stephanie Burgess. I live in Scenic Hills area. I just was going to summarize kind of what's been going on. We've all already talked about it, the three speakers that came up. I agree completely. I'm just going to refresh. Does this turn it like refresh our memories of this, and I won't hold them up there for very long. You're all familiar with this. This is what we're dealing with a flooding issue that hasn't been addressed yet. Just going to, like I said, this is what's happening off of Scenic Hills. This is the road that they want to put towards Scenic Hills for the development, which is flooded at that time. This is the house behind, what they had to deal with, just to show you. This has been repaired, but will it happen again? We don't know. They've been working on it for months, draining this pond. It's clay, so it doesn't, when it rains, it fills back up, so there's no drainage for it. Hang on one second. Had to buy this house because of the flooding that nothing has been done about just yet. The city now owns this home. Wanted to talk about also too, the sewage system. No contiguous system in place for this development. Ownership of this property has changed hands more than 4 times. It's not developable. Excuse me, I'm nervous. It's too wet. It's a wetland for the animals and stuff like that. And again, no survey or permits have been done for the endangered gopher turtles, which they support 500 other different species of animals in that area, nesting and whatnot. But that's all I have. I suggest that we make this a green space. You know, it's not developable. It's unable to develop this property. It's too wet. It's our natural drainage. Anyways, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Sarah Kempfer, and then John Palladino. Okay, all right, John Palladino. And after, Okay. And I appreciate that, and if anybody wants to defer to the fact that their concerns have been raised at this point, and of course, what's under deliberation is whether we would postpone and come back at a different date for them to present the rest of the information that they've put together. Jason Howell, and then Michael Ambrose.
Good morning. My name is Jason Howell. I live in the Wolf Branch Estates neighborhood. I come before you not only as a concerned resident of the community, but also as a professional with deep experience in this field. I hold a law degree specializing in real estate and environment sustainability, as well as a master's degree from Georgetown University in real estate. And I run a real estate investment fund here in Central Florida. I want to raise a strong opposition to this development, not because we're against progress, but because in its current form, it goes against Lakes County own development standards in 3 different fronts: value impact, density, as well as accessibility. One of the key questions when evaluating a new development is, will it affect values? The developer says no, but that's not the full story. As a professional, know residential appraisals rely heavily on sales comparison approach in comparing homes of like kind and similar scale. When place a density community against a smaller community, you're going to have this drift of smaller houses to bigger houses, because the smaller houses may considered comparables and ultimately dragging down the appraisal values of the larger homes. This is especially relevant to us because our community sits on directly south of the heritage development, and now this proposed development to the south of us, which is the new development, we get sandwiched in between these 2 smaller, potential density communities. Worse, you have this thing called the unicorn effect, all right, where if our homes in our neighborhood become so unlike anything around us, right, appraisers and lenders have to reach out to get comparable sales, resulting in less favorable appraisals, more buyer uncertainty, and ultimately suppressed property values. The Lake County own development guidelines asks whether the new project reflects logical and orderly progression of development. My property is nearly 100,000 square feet. There's nothing orderly or logical or transitional about placing an 8,000 square feet directly adjacent. This kind of abrupt shift creates visual and economic whiplash and breaks the natural development rhythm that preserves both aesthetic and value. This development proceeds if it proceeds as proposed, it would not be filling a community, it would be fracturing it. I'm going to run out of time, but yeah, we motion for you to object to this.
Thank you. Michael Ambrose and then Michelle Wooten. And again, we're really focused right now on whether to do the postponement.
My name is Michael Ambrose. Good morning. I agree with the rest of these folks that you should deny this completely. My wife and I have been a resident here of the hills of Mount Dora for over 20 years. We chose and invested here because of the rural nature of this area. Now, for the second time, Heritage Green is trying to get you commissioners to approve their subdivision, which, if allowed, will permanently destroy the rural nature of this part of Lake County. In the summary analysis in Zoning Department staff report, they describe the objective of a rural conservation subdivision is, quote, to provide for alternative subdivision designed to provide housing in a manner that also preserves agricultural and forestry lands, natural and cultural features, scenic view sheds, and most importantly, rural community character. Heritage Green plans to put 265 homes, and if granted an additional 49 homes, totaling a total of 315 homes on 217 acres. I can't imagine what the traffic and road repair issues that this density will cause to Wolf Branch Road, including the increased potential for flooding like we experienced last year. My subdivision and our neighbors at Wolf Branch Estates, both of which surround Heritage Green, consists of a total of 208 acres, 9 acres less, with a total of 91 homes spaced on properties that range from 1 to 5 acres each. Do you, elected commissioners, really believe that Heritage Green keeps the rural community character objective of the Rural Conservation Subdivision in this area of Lake County? I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Michelle Wooten, and then Danny Mack, and again, trying to focus on the postponement.
Hi, Michelle Wooten, the Hills of Mount Dora. They've pretty much covered everything I was concerned about. There is a road that's going in front of my house that's going to be the roundabout. And they have deviated my driveway to a perimeter road that went by the road that they want to connect from Heritage Green out that was flooded. If I remember the last meeting, you did state something about it was a flood ground and probably wouldn't get the road. Excuse me. But I'm here to ask today to please deny the project, deny the road that goes behind my house. I'm being squished by 2 roads. If they have 200 homes, there won't be just 200 cars. There'll be 2.5, 2.9 cars per household. And this will be the exit that will dominate most of the neighborhood by where all of our items are downtown Mount Dora, the school. We have a lot of impact on Wolf Branch as it is. The school alone contributes a lot of traffic trying to come in and out of Scenic Hills Drive. So at this time, and I'll be back to the next meeting, is please deny the project and deny the road behind my house.
Thank you. And next is Danny Mack, and then Luana Folsom.
Hi, my name is Danny Mack. I live in Wolf Branch Estates subdivision. I do want to respond to their request, Heritage Green, for postponement. We have many people here that have jobs, they work for a living. This is an extreme hardship for these people to show up. I hope you really understand that. At 9 o'clock during the week, they have to change their whole lives, their family lives. For them to ask for another postponement, I believe they're just stalling. Okay, so I want to really address that. And finally, yesterday we had 0.13 inches of rain, not even a quarter of an inch of rain. And we had flooding again on Wolf Branch Road. The stormwater came again down from Timberwalk. Nothing has been corrected. We're going to be approaching hurricane season in about 2 months. It's going to be devastating if that is not addressed. And the Heritage Green subdivision is going to be devastating to our subdivision in the Wolf Branch Estate. We'll have no out. They will eliminate our regress, degress to get out of that subdivision, as we were trapped in it when Hurricane Milton came in. So we need your help to stop this subdivision coming in. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Luana, and then Kathy Fury, I believe.
Good morning, Luana Foles. I live in Wolf Branch Estates, District 4. I just want to address their request for a postponement. I request that y'all deny it. The last meeting was, they were supposed to be prepared to that meeting, and y'all had so many questions, so many holes in their presentation. about the flooding, about the traffic, about the sewage, where they're going to get their water. So why are y'all going to give them another bite at the apple? Why are we going to convenience them? That's inconvenienced all of us by not being prepared when they are the ones that put in the application. Y'all didn't put in their application. We didn't put in their application. They did. They thought they were ready. They're not. Please say no.
Kathy, and then Cindy Newton is last.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Fury. I live in Wolf Branch Estates. Most of my concerns have already been addressed, but I do have a few more to bring up. Number one, does the St. John's Water Management District have any say or input regarding this matter? Because I know they're already involved in the flooding in our neighborhood. So do they have any say in this matter?
Well, they ultimately they review stormwater permits that are put in by a developer, so they're not involved in the zoning aspect.
I understand. Okay, and then as far as the sewage goes, I'm very concerned if they're going to have septic tanks, which is what I think has been discussed. That's what I read in tab 4. Where does their sewage go? Because I have a well. I don't want their sewage draining down into my well. So I request that you deny this extension and just go ahead and deny the application altogether. Thank you.
And Cindy Newton is the last speaker card.
Cindy Newton, District 4. It's difficult to know what to comment on because I don't know if it's going to be postponed. But one thing I would ask, if it is postponed, is to make sure you take Devo's second video assessment into account for this property. He not only has the one that was majorly done showing the flow coming from the north and from the west, but now he's also got one that's in the shallower areas that's coming from the east. So there's a lot of water issues with this. Also, there's a existing deep depression with vertical leakage to the aquifer, in other words, a sinkhole. And this assessment that they have online states that the depression will result in a rise of water elevation in the depression to about 75 feet in AVD. And currently the water in there is at 52 feet. You've got a management plan in place for this now, and it mentions a lot of use of Roundup. You've got an open depression there. You're going to have runoff that's going into this low depression, even during normal times, let alone during the the high water times. Also, the use of heavy equipment coming in. FWC notes some issues with that, trying to avoid the gopher tortoise burrows and even the tortoises themselves. And they even state that the hatchlings can't be seen from this type of grading and heavy equipment. And the overall design for it, I don't feel it actually supports clustering. This is agricultural land being changed over to residential. This is also the rural transition area, getting a bonus of 22% in density because of the clustering, but the clustering does not appear to support what we had put in place for the conservation subdivisions. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, I'll ask the applicant if the applicant wants to make closing comments. Oh, online. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ray, but I need to check to see who's on the phone.
Yes, we do have one online, Barbara Morris. You should be able to unmute your line now.
Barbara Morris, District 4. I don't believe that this proposed subdivision or whatever it is really ready to be considered, even if you postpone this so that the most recent report can be evaluated, you still have so many issues that you probably need to just say no, decline it, give the applicant a year to go back and figure out all these problems. On the Avery engineering report that they submitted, it states it is proposed to construct a 5-foot deep pond with an average area of about 5.8 acres to temporarily store 25 acre-feet of floodwaters, which will be pumped into the pond during an extreme weather. The proposed storage pond, known to have a vertical leakage to the underlying limestone, our aquifer, is what they intend to pump this in. We have another major storm, and I'm sure that 2, 5, 10 years from now, the homeowners association is going to run out there and install pumps so that they can pump this water to this aquifer sucking hole in time for it not to flood everybody around them. It amazes me that this is even being considered, because pumping is for after the hurricane has passed and after the homes have been flooded. You're setting yourself up for down the road having to buy another house and turning it into a retention pond. So many other things are wrong with this proposal that it shouldn't even be in front of you. The city of Mount Dora has informed you they will not they don't have capacity for central septic. They will not accept the roads into their maintenance system. You're going from a 1 to 5 transition area down to 6,000 square foot lots. And even though they are having a conservation area, there is absolutely nothing in this world to prevent someone from coming in later and removing that conservation area, because I've watched this board do that very thing on smaller conservation areas. Even though it says it's in perpetuity, it's not. There is no solid ingress and egress. There are so many problems with this proposal that even if you delay it for another couple of months, it is not a feasible project. And I'm just asking you, you have the ability today to say no and decline it and let these people go back to work and not disrupt their lives, at least for a year. And I request that you do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's our last speaker. And now Mr. Ray.
Thank you for your time again. The majority of the information that we heard again is specific to the hydrologic study. Staff has not had a time to review that study that was submitted, question, negotiate, find out for appropriate ways to move forward with it. That's what we're requesting, is that staff had the time to fully review the hydrologic study that was submitted. If staff feels that additional information is required, that we be provided the opportunity to provide that with staff, and then come forward with a clear plan to mitigate, restore, enhance, address the flooding issues that are occurring not only on potentially this project, but also off-site and adjacent to it. We're just not looking at specifically one project. We recognize clearly and simply that there's an issue at Wolf Branch, and that this is part of that contributing basin. How do we address that moving forward? Again, we request the continuance to move forward. We've heard some of the similar items that have been addressed before that we believe we have answers for when we come back in front of you. But again, we request the continuance to move forward on a mutual time agreeable with staff.
All right, thank you. Okay, again, I want to say thank you to everyone for being here today, and appreciate everyone's comments. I'm going to ask the board whether there is a motion. I do want to state on the record, just for the benefit of the applicant, I feel that there are a lot of issues that I don't see how get resolved. But
I move to deny the application.
And we have a motion for denial. And do we have a second? All right, y'all, please, we don't do yelling at our meetings. So we don't have a second on the denial. The question then is on a, and I'm the chair, so I don't make motions or seconds. So we're back to, do we have a motion for a postponement?
Go ahead. So I would like to, there's been a lot of things brought up for the developer to go over, septic, hydrology issues, road access issues, this is the first rural conservation design we have done, to my knowledge, done by Randall Alt, who is well respected in the field of rural conservation. And this project here, instead of allowing 35% open space, allows 61.5% open space. I think I would just like to give the applicant time to redesign the roads, to get the hydrology issue looked at. And by the time that this comes back to us, the septic issue will be solved due to that new resolution that we just requested to have done. So I would like to at least allow the applicant to go through all these things and bring them back to us for consideration.
Are you stating a time certain, or
No.
just whenever they
No-
make the
no
request
time
for a
certain.
hearing? All right, is there a second on your motion?
Second.
There's a first and second, and for discussion. I personally don't think that the conservation design works here. I think the conservation design can work in certain instances. I don't think it works on a property like this that has such huge changes in its topography. And I don't think it works because of the impact of that topography on the adjoining properties. And we don't have to speculate. I mean, we know because we have a track record with what happens with drainage in this area. I think the access issue is a huge issue. I personally think that rural transition land use that's there should stay there, and the zoning that's there should stay there. And if they can figure out a way to design and meet the rights that they have right now, but I'm not in favor of giving additional rights. So I just want that to be clear, just as the applicant goes forward, so they know where I stand on it.
And I'm hoping this conversation, they understand where this whole board stands, because this whole board stand, I think, stands with you. We just don't want to delay it a whole year. I think they can go back and redesign it and bring it back to us.
It'd have to be a major design change.
Yep.
They have that noted.
And Commissioner Parks, did you have anything else you wanted to weigh in on?
No, I guess my thoughts are, it's about process, of course. This is the first time that we're going through the conservation subdivision criteria. This is a concept plan, so it's not the actual PUD zoning and or land use change that would come after. This is like an added step. It's a concept plan. I would state very clearly that if we were at the PUD level, I would not be able to support it. There's obviously too many big questions to move forward. I think that some of the questions could be answered, like you, Chair, though I'm not sure. Maybe they can't. And I think we'll certainly know within the next few months on that. But I would support the table. I guess it's a table request. Is that?
That's what the motion is on the floor.
The motion is for continuance, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right, any other for discussion? All in favor of tabling until a date that the applicant requests a new hearing, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Aye. All right, so that, the tabling passes 3-2, and there will be public notices sent out. They would have to send like actual notices, right, to the surrounding property owners?
We will do the entire public notice process again.
And I would also make a suggestion that the applicant makes more community meetings. Just a suggestion.
Okay. All right, so you will be getting notices at such time as they request a hearing on their revisions and their additional information. Through the Postal Service, yes, in the mail. Okay, all right, thank you, everyone. That concludes our zoning cases today. We're going to, as the chamber's clear, we have reports. So we'll have, as soon as it gets quiet, we'll move on to reports. That won't take long. Okay, moving ahead then, do we have a report, County Attorney? Do we have a report, County Manager? Commissioner Sabatini, do you have a report?
Thank you very much. Not much in the district in terms of a report, but it is that time of year. It's that time of year. We're in the middle of the legislative session. You guys all know, you've been following. Oh, it's fine. If you guys can hear me, it's fine. I don't want to. Just really focus on some of these bills that are being filed. There's some very good bills moving. There's ones that are very bad for the county, bad for Lake County in particular. And just, pay attention and focus. And there's a lot in the air. The House, the Senate, and the governor are really all in completely different directions right now. So your voice matters. You could really tilt and influence, I think, some of the stuff that's going on. But when it comes to rural protection, when it comes to protecting the quality of Lake County, there's a lot of bills that would have a substantive effect. So I would just encourage everybody to stay focused on it during the last, I think we got seven weeks left on it. So that's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Parks?
Nothing to report. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week, and thanks for letting me join you virtually. Oh, one quick thing too. I want to say it and follow up to Commissioner Sabatini. This SB 1118. Want to definitely start voicing my opposition to that bill as well. And I'm actually going to write an editorial about that because I have some pretty big concerns with that one. But other than that, I'm looking forward to Commissioner Smith's what day is it today?
That's scary.
April Fool's.
All right, yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Parks, and look forward to having you back next week. Commissioner Smith, on your report, do you have a report?
Yes. The first report is, Commissioner Parks, I hope you get to feeling better here pretty quick. I'm glad you're on the line giving your input. Second issue is a legislative issue. Commissioner Sabatini is 100% correct. Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. A lot of this stuff coming on Facebook and all these other social media platforms, they try to sway you one way or another. The only thing I would suggest is actually get the bill number and read it, and then call your legislator and ask them about it to explain it to you, what it exactly means. That way you'll have a full scope and not one-sided. That's all I have to say about that. Second thing is today's election day for northern East Lake County, so I hope you go out and vote. And then I was in Washington, D.C. last week. I had a very productive meeting with Congressman Webster about the trail project we have in here between Lake County, two areas of Mount Dora. It was extremely productive. I would like to thank Maurice, who is our legislative aide up there, lobbyist up there, that actually helped this, and Pam Jones, who is with the Commissioner Webster's office. They were paramount in making this meeting happen. I just want to say I want to thank Congressman Webster for taking the time and his complete attendance at that meeting. It was very nice to see that his engaging part of it, and I think that we're going to be moving in the right direction. And that's all I have for right now until it becomes a national day.
All right, Commissioner Morris?
Okay, we had a great lead executive board meeting. They do have a lot of things on moving forward, so I'm excited about that. Secondly, Fruitland Park Day was great last Saturday. On a sad note, Commissioner Chris Bell passed away, and I think everybody knows that was past Commissioner Blake's father-in-law, so keep them in your prayers. That's my report.
All right, and under my report, I'll keep it short. I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Smith and everyone on county staff and City of Tavares and City of Mount Dora that are continuing to work on the Wekiva Trail. I'm super excited about the potential of having a trail that runs from Sorrento to Mount Dora to Tavares and on throughout the rest of Lake County and in the other direction as well to Orange and to Seminole. So this is getting exciting that we're making some progress, and I appreciate all the hard work and determination not to give up on this. So Commissioner Smith, what is today?
Well, and to go on that, it's not just a trail, it's also a utility corridor.
Right.
As it was mentioned earlier today, the Mount Dora is having some capacity issue. So is Tavares. Two different things. One's having capacity issues with wastewater. The other one's having a capacity issue with water. The City of Tavares and the City of Mount Dora have come together, and they're going to share services if this happens. So it's a great for everybody along that corridor. So with that.
Second, Commissioner Morris is raising his pen.
I apologize. I did forget one thing. I'd like to for us to consider working with Lake Sumter on the Legends Way. I'd like to start on an MOU to get the county involved in that project down there on Legends Way, to run it, to manage it, and I wanted
Yes, I agree.
I agree 100% as long as the maintenance is brought up to snuff where they should have done previously.
There is money that's going to be available for that. We're looking at naming rights right now. There is some work that's already been done, but we do need to bring it up to snuff. And
well, they need to bring it up to snuff, and then we can take it over.
Yeah,
that was under the original agreement.
I don't disagree with that, and we're working towards that.
All right.
Appreciate your work on that.
All right, now, drum roll.
Okay, so everybody knows that today is April Fool's Day, or National Tomfoolery's Day, but some people may not know that today is actually Sourdough Bread Day. So when you go out and have your sandwich today, go out and enjoy it on a sourdough bread. That's all I have.
Excellent.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. We stand adjourned.
Good work. See you at the fish fry, maybe?
I'll be there. Yeah, that's the third.